To all the non-believers, 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 non-believers. I'm making non-believers say, oh.
What's up, y'all? This is Jay Varsity, and welcome to another episode of NBA Talk Playoff Edition. This is episode 11, and we're going to get into a few topics here today, including giving my game take analysis on Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. But first, we're gonna go over some other topics trending around the NBA. And so far, the past 48 hours, the trending topic has been the Los Angeles Clippers, and all the quote unquote fake news that the team has apparently told the media is apparently coming out. Apparently coming to the light. One being chemistry issues, meaning that eternally that not everybody was getting along and holding themselves accountable, aka Paul George, who I'm calling now the king of excuses, because he never wants to hold himself accountable in the postseason, even though we're all used to him coming up short at this point in his career. After apparently in Game 2 in the semifinals against the Denver Nuggets, apparently him and Montrezl Harrell got into it, and that's what Montrezl Harrell apparently got into him with. He got into it with him. Apparently, a lot of curse words were being used, and yeah, basically he was just basically calling out Paul George, saying you need to hold yourself accountable as much as the rest of the team does, and he just refused to do it. He kept telling everybody else what they were doing wrong, and who knows what the full story is, but I'm not surprised that Paul George blames somebody else, because he always tends to blame somebody else when it comes to the playoffs for whenever a team that he's on comes up short. Like take for example, I remember the rant he went on when he was in Indiana in 2017. He ranted about not getting the last shot, and even a lot of people agreed with him, saying that the best player needs to take the last shot. When normally in basketball, you try to get the best shot possible, and at that point in time, I said that was a good look. It just did not go in. In any other scenario, if that shot goes in, everybody's talking about how great of a look that was. So anyway, Montrezl Harrell apparently, and this was also another thing that was trending. Montrezl Harrell apparently stopped following the Clippers and on Instagram, and apparently recently started following the Toronto Raptors. And the Toronto Raptors have apparently had a lot of interest in him, and they're apparently going to go after him during the offseason. So seems like there's some things that are actually deeper than what we thought. And Kendrick Perkins apparently he said on ESPN or somewhere, I don't know what sports show he was on, most likely ESPN, because that's mostly where I see him. He said that eternally he found a source that the Clippers are going to get blown up, that this team is not going to look the same coming next season. So, and I kind of expected that. Because the way their salary cap is gonna be working, they're literally gonna have one more season to have a contending group before they even think about blowing this up. And if you know Steve Ballmer, he really wants to win. He really wants this team to win. That's one thing for sure. He does not want to go out he does not want to look dumb after investing all this time into getting Paul George, getting all these pieces to just come up short again. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if Montrezl Harrell is gone. I wouldn't be surprised if Marcus Morris is gone. I wouldn't be surprised if Lou Williams or Patrick Beverley is gone, because apparently they're looking for a playmaker. And apparently Derrick Rose has been mentioned. And the most ridiculous one I heard was the Clippers trying to make a god offer for Joel Embiid. which that is, I started laughing at that point. I was like, really? Do they really think they're going to get Joel Embiid? Do they really think they're going to have Kawhi, Paul George, and Joel Embiid? I mean, come on. Seriously. Like, now you're just kidding yourselves. But the Clippers, they're going to look like a whole different team next year. And maybe this is a team that won't be so cocky talking about a parade in the second game of the season like Patrick Beverley did. He was already planning a parade in the second game of the season. Maybe this will be a team that'll be a little more humble and show a little more respect to their opponents and take the regular season a little more seriously like everybody else does, and not act like, in quote Stephen A. Smith, a bunch of prima donnas, and which we've all called them a bunch of prima donnas all season. Because how can you be the most least consistent team in basketball and then you're walking around like you're entitled, like you're the champs already? So that came back to punch them in the mouth. But who knows what's going to go on? Let's see how much the Clippers changed by next season, because I think next year is going to be even tougher for the Clippers to compete for a title, because next year I think the Western Conference is going to be the strongest it's ever been. I think that the next season, the Western Conference especially, is going to be the strongest it's ever been. Because now with the rising emergence of the Denver Nuggets, they're showing just a little bit more of what this team is capable of. You're gonna have the Golden State Warriors back. You're still gonna have the Lakers. You're gonna have the Utah Jazz. You're gonna have who knows what's gonna go on with OKC? What's gonna go on with Houston? We have to see how much the league is gonna get shaken up, because I just believe the Western Conference is going to be the toughest it's ever been. So I think the path for the Clippers to win a title is going to be even tougher than it was this year. I think this was their golden opportunity, and they really missed it. So that's enough Clippers talk. That's enough of the Clippers right there. Before I talk about this other topic, I gotta give my take on Game 2 of the Heat and Boston Eastern Conference Finals. Game 2, I'm not gonna lie, it was deja vu to me. It was deja vu because Game 2 almost had a lot of it was a lot more reminiscent of what Game 1 was like. Boston got out to a huge lead. They were dominating in whatever they were trying to attack with. In Game 1, they were dominating and attacking from the perimeter. They were killing us on the 3-point line, and Miami locked down the perimeter and came back into the game. This time, they were attacking from the paint. Miami was getting dominated from the paint, but because of the Miami zone defense that they were playing. The zone was leaving the middle of the paint wide open, and that's what Boston was using to attack, whether it was going into the paint or finding perimeter shooters. And Miami once again found a way to win by locking down even more in that 2-3 zone, and taking away the perimeter and taking away their ability to get easy switches. So Boston kind of melted down in that third quarter. I think they had 7 turnovers in the third quarter. Kemba Walker, who was having a great first half, slowed down in the second half, and it started to show. The intensity of the Boston Celtics started to show that they weren't attacking the same way as they were in the first half. Brad Wanamaker wasn't making the same shots as he was in the first half either, and Miami was really attacking the paint, because even Miami wasn't hitting as many threes as they usually do. They still hit the key threes that mattered to get them the lead. Duncan Robinson was having a game by how you judge Duncan Robinson, and to me, he's been one of the best shooters in the bubble. He's been one of the best shooters in the bubble, and to me, Miami just really disciplined themselves in locking down on defense, especially with Jimmy Butler. I loved what I saw from him in the fourth quarter with the 3 clutch defensive plays. He was huge, and Goran Dragic has been amazing through this playoff run. He just comes out with these big performances in big moments in the game. What if it's not Jimmy Butler or Goran Dragic? It's most likely going to be Tyler Hero that makes a big play. So I like how much of team basketball Miami has been playing. This has been a team that heavily relies on the success of one another because defensively as a team they couldn't look any more united. They don't you don't see nobody you don't see many mismatches or many miscommunications that lead to wide open looks, especially in the fourth. The Celtics looked pressured, they melted down, they looked frustrated. They were just looking for any type of shot to go in. With Jaylen Brown hitting those back-to-back threes, they were feeling somewhat of a relief, and they thought they could make a third one in a row, and it didn't happen. And it led to Miami winning the game, and now Miami has a 2-0 lead in this Eastern Conference Finals. So far, if I had to say who's been the better team, I would say Boston has been the better first half team, and Miami has been the better second half team. That's the only way I could judge it so far. That's the only way I could judge this series so far. Miami has been the better second half team in this series. Boston in the first half has been the better first half team. I don't know what is it about Boston. They'll just get on this huge run, and it feels like they're gonna run away with the game. And Miami just finds a way in the third quarter to get this back to a single-digit game, or even take the lead in that matter. And Miami in general has just been tough. They're not going to go without a fight. You got to earn your wins against Miami. And Miami so far has only lost one game in the playoffs. They're 10-1. And which leads to this next story with the Boston Celtics. Apparently Marcus Smart after the game, he had gotten extremely frustrated, and apparently there was a lot of yelling, a lot of arguing. Apparently they heard chairs being thrown and all that. This sounds like something out of WWE, to tell you the truth, but not. But in all, the Celtics players are not going to probably tell you much because they don't want no extra drama to build up out of it. But to me, if you're breaking down like that, if you have a mentally tough guy like Marcus Smart breaking down like that, talking about that you guys are on some bull, it just shows how frustrating it is when you're playing a team like Miami. Miami when they lock down defensively, a team like that could frustrate you because they know how to get themselves back in a ball game. So my thing with this series is it's going to be a mentally tough challenge for the Boston Celtics when it comes to playing a team like Miami, because Miami they're not going to go out without a fight. If you're going to try to take them out, you got to take them out in a blowout. You can't be in a close game with the Miami Heat because that's what Miami looks for. They like having a tough, gritty game like that. I mean, you just saw Miami take out the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, the best team in the NBA. You just saw that. So what do you think you're gonna get when you're playing a team that just knocked out the number 1 seed? So I think Miami has somewhat got the momentum in this series. As a Heat fan, I don't want the Heat to get complacent. I don't want them to get cocky. They need to keep their foot on the gas, because if they want to win this series, especially against a team like the Boston Celtics, they need to keep the same energy they've had. They need to stay aggressive on the defensive end. The perimeter shooting needs to be a little more. They need to find a little more high IQ perimeter shots, because some of the shots that they were just throwing up, they look like prayer shots. And even though I enjoyed when they went in, they look very ugly when they don't. And Jimmy Butler. He's got to be a little bit more in attack mode. It kind of irritates me when I understand he wants to get everybody else involved, and he's a very defensive guy, But when Jimmy Butler gets going, he's in the fourth quarter, and you've seen it in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler becomes damn near unstoppable in the fourth quarter. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, then that's fine. As long if it leads to a win, then that's fine. But I just wish he was a little more aggressive on the offensive end and takes a little more shots than he's doing right now. But other than that, defensively, he's been excellent. His reaction time for getting on ball steals is just incredible. And there's nothing more I can say about Miami, because Miami has been doing very well, especially in the second half. But it's just the first half that I wish that they could just find a way to not be down by so much. I wish they can avoid being down 17 in the first half, because as a fan, it irritates me, and I just know that this series, that they could find a way to not be down by that much when it comes to getting into the second half. And I think Miami has just been the mentally tougher team. You guys could decide for yourselves in the comment section. And you guys could decide for yourselves in the comment section. We could agree to disagree. And comment what you think, what changes you think the Clippers are gonna make in the offseason, because we're about to hear some crazy stories when it comes to the Clippers for the next few days. And comment who you think is gonna win Game 3. And we're gonna have Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight between the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. Who do you think is gonna win Game 1? Comment down below. I honestly believe the Lakers are gonna win, but with how resilient the Denver Nuggets have been, I would not be surprised if they came with a Game 1 win. But anyway, that's it. That's all. I think the Lakers are gonna win Game 1, and that's my take on it. Like I said, we can agree to disagree. That's it. That's all. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell if you like basketball content. This is your boy J Varsity, and I'm out. Peace.
We got some non-believers out there.
Make believers out